I'm Batman.
Who are you?
My name is Bond. I'm Batman.
Name's Bond.
James Bond.
I'm Batman.
Bond. James Bond. I'm Batman. I'm Batman.
This is the Batman vs. James Bond show. The show covering everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. And now, here's your host, Brian Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to an all-new episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. The name's Thomas, Brian Thomas, and I am your host. And this is the show where we discuss everything related to Batman and James Bond movies. It is great to be back. For all you newbies out there, welcome. And for all you listeners who've been here since episode 1, you know who you are. Thanks for coming back and joining me every week. I hope you had a great week. I know I did. Just got off of Father's Day. Am I a father? Well, technically speaking, I am. According to my wife and to my mother, I am a puppy daddy. And actually, I have 2 dogs, and that gives me an unofficial right to celebrate Father's Day. But I will take it and treated myself to a James Bond marathon all day yesterday. And might I say that it was awesome. I mean, I started off with I think I kicked off with, let's see, Tomorrow Never Dies, yeah. So I watched the end of Tomorrow Never Dies, and then I started off with World's Not Enough, had to go run some errands, came back, and it was already at the end of, or in the middle of Die Another Day. I still watched it, yes I did, and then started off with Casino Royale, had some more things to do, and then it ended off the day with Skyfall, and nice little Sunday, as they like to say. So to all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day or happy post-Father's Day. It was also National Martini Day. So if you are a fan of the martini drink, then I hope that you did kick back 1, maybe 2. Hopefully not as many as Bond did. I think he kicked back at least 6 Vespers in Quantum of Solace. Maybe 1 too many, but I don't know if I'm quite the martini drinker. I'm more of a whiskey kind of guy. But hey, if martinis are your thing, then I hope you celebrated. Anyway, so before we get things started off, I would like to remind everyone to please subscribe to the Batman vs. James Bond show on Spreaker and iTunes and leave a nice little review for me on there. I would very much appreciate it. Now, as I always like to mention, especially for you new listeners out there, I am not a movie critic. I am not a writer for a movie site. I'm just average Joe. I'm just a guy who is obsessed with Batman and James Bond. Ask all my friends. I'm that guy. I'm that goof who's rocking a Batman t-shirt all the time. Yes, occasionally the Superman shirt because I did love Man of Steel. We'll talk about that later. I dress up as Batman, for fun, just because I really enjoy it. I love the character. I would love to dress up as James Bond. If I was to wear a tux every day, I think people would give me a look, and I almost have to carry a martini with me everywhere because I don't think people would get it. They're like, oh, well, you're dressed in a tux. Who are you supposed to be? Or why are you dressed up in a tux? But anyway, besides the point, though. Having said that, though, I love Batman and James Bond. That's why I do this show each and every week, and I hope that you enjoy it too. So, having said that, let's start off with some news stories of the week. So, drum roll please. We are getting a major Justice League movie reveal tomorrow. Whenever you're listening to this, it might be already Tuesday already. The announcement might have been made. Warner Brothers DC is set to reveal some big news for the upcoming DC Extended Universe film Justice League. Now, it has been confirmed by a couple insiders. One's Sean O'Connell. He's from the content director of Cinema Blend, and a movie critic, Eric Vesp. They both went on saying that, they'll be giving fans some huge reveals regarding 2017's Justice League. They went on to Twitter. O'Connell tweeted this: picked up a ton of DC movies fans on my flight home. Wonder why. Tuesday morning. Brace for it, folks. Eric Vest tweeted this: going to have a ridiculously in-depth series of articles about an upcoming tentpole flick hitting the site Tuesday morning. Stay tuned. What could it be? Honestly, nobody knows. I mean, last time, of course, we had a big reveal was all the way back to Batman v Superman. This was a couple years ago. If you all remember, it was what they like to call Sad Batman. Yes, it was Ben Affleck. It was kind of like the debut of the new Batman, kind of costume, if you will. That we saw him next to the Batmobile. Actually, I think we saw the Batmobile first, if I'm not mistaken, and then we saw him next to the Batmobile. And and that was great. I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, it was a great tease. Now, having said that, we are only a year away from this movie, give or take. So some guesses are that it's going to be a group photo. I'm cool with that. If you want to have just even the Justice League logo, I wouldn't be surprised if they have at least that. Could it be an official plot summary? Maybe it could be that. Could it be a main villain reveal? Nobody knows. Maybe it's more Justice League members announced. I mean, maybe we'll hear finally about the Green Lantern Corp or any other characters that haven't been announced. Honestly, like I said, if I had to place a bet on this, just everything that I read day in and day out, it's probably going to be some kind of photo, like an official first photo. Yeah, we've seen photos from the set, of seeing Jason Momoa rocking all that long, beautiful Pantene Pro V hair, as I like to call it, and all the tattoos. Maybe it's Gal Gadot, training, doing some fighting moves or something. Maybe it's Cyborg. Maybe it's Ezra Miller. Maybe it's Ben Affleck, fighting Henry Cavill. I'm just throwing out some ideas here anyway. So, yeah, I think it's at least, I will put money on it. It's going to be at least a logo of some kind, or it's going to be just some kind of Unite the Six kind of teaser poster. I think it's going to be too soon for a trailer, because the reason I say that is they started filming this movie almost immediately after Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice came out, which, if you remember, was back in March 25th, 26th, give or take. So that was around April that we got this. So it's been a couple months now, but I don't think it's enough time for footage, especially if they're, it's a comic book movie, and now that, it's not like the Christopher Nolan films or even like the Michael Keaton films or the Joel Schumacher films in the Batman universe, where it wasn't so much heavily CGI, where it would be easy just to show some quick footage from that. Or same goes for a Bond movie. You can do such a quick teaser when it's not so CGI filled. With the Zack Snyder film, it's going to be something more CGI intense. Think back to all the way back, like, it was 2014, I believe it was, in the Comic-Con there for San Diego, coming up. And they did the tease for Batman v Superman there, and that's when they announced, I want you to remember Clark, the one man who beat you, and that whole spiel. And the following year, it ended up being in 2015, at the time when we thought we were going to get this movie earlier. And what they did was they revealed the, footage of Batman in his armored suit, lighting his own signal, direct from the movie. And then you see Superman, pop up out of the signal, and, he's got his red eyes glaring, and of course the crowd goes wild, and what a great sight that would have been to see. Is it going to be something to that extent? Honestly, no. So, speculation continues until the next time that, we end up talking again, or we end up listening. Like I said, stay tuned. I'll try to put it out as soon as I hear something. Believe me, my ears are peeled, and we'll continue now. So going back with Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Edition is right around the corner, believe it or not. We are only a couple weeks, and, this is what I want some, you guys to give me your opinion on. Are you going to be buying the digital HD version, which I'm very much considering, because I'm very, very eager to see this film right about now, because I only saw it once. Considering there's 30 minutes of added footage in this movie, I gotta say, and everything that's coming out right now, and that's what I'm about to talk about. There's a lot of leaks coming out right now. I don't want to go spoiler heavy on this. I will give you a spoiler alert in a moment, but before I begin, I just want to know, send me a tweet, let me know, and I'll post a poll of this. Are you going to end up buying the HD version early, or are you going to wait till the Blu-ray 4K edition comes out? Now, there's an article that came out today, or in the last day or so, saying that this is literally the biggest Blu-ray, digital movie ever, because of so much stuff is packed into it. I guess I'm old school. I like buying, I like to buy and hold, I like seeing that actual Blu-ray case, DVD case, whatever, even VHS case. And I just like having it. And, my wife gives me crap about it, saying, why do you need to have that? And, I got to say that I just like having it, and it's just a keepsake. It's just a collector's item, the way I see it anyway. So the same would go for, James Bond movie. Why do I have to buy them all on Blu-ray? I just like having that box set. And, I'll probably buy it over and over again. And when the next, kind of whatever it's going to be, HD, 4KD, and whatever else is going to be out there, and chances are I'll probably buy it again. So right now, like I said, I'm debating if I want to buy HD copy only or do I want to have that 4K. Let me know what you think. Does 4K make a difference over HD or not? I'm not quite the technical guru, but I just want to see that movie as soon as possible. So I might be impatient. I might just, go for that HD. So here's the deal. I want to talk about this a little bit tonight because it has been all over the internet. I've been very careful about what I've been releasing to you guys. And, that's the problem with internet sometimes is that when news breaks, anytime news feels like breaking, it breaks. And when it goes over the internet, spoilers, whatever it may be, it just goes all over the place. That can be a good thing. That can be a bad thing. But tonight I did want to talk about the Ultimate Edition leaked footage. So we'll be very careful when we talk about this. Let me just put spoiler alert right now. We'll just say that, just so I can cover my own ass. Collider.com has reported that the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice was torrented, revealing the extra 30 minutes of footage and almost immediately taken down. But some have already seen the new footage and posting this all over the web. Now, like I said, I have not seen it yet. I will near the end of the month. It's 30 extra minutes, so once again, here's your spoiler alert. So here's some stuff that has been revealed. The Africa scene. So if you did see the movie, you know what I'm talking about here. At the very beginning, all of a sudden we see, Lois Lane is being captured by, it looks like some terrorist. And then all of a sudden, Superman comes, saves her, and, we have no idea what's going on. So there's bodies being burned and Superman's getting blamed. And apparently this is going to be making more sense now. So they actually show Superman fighting, trying to right the rights. Originally all we saw was him just saving Lois. So more explanation there, more Superman being Superman. We also get to see more of Clark Kent, and we get to see more of him searching for who the Batman is and going into Gotham. If you saw the trailer for the Ultimate Cut, you saw that, like when he was in Gotham City, he was talking to that one creepy guy who does the scratch off and reveals the bat symbol. I think that's part of Gotham City if I had to speculate right about now. So we'll get to see more of Clark Kent, which will be great because what I understand is that actually, Spider-Man in Civil War had more lines than Clark Kent did in a 2.5-hour movie, and Spider-Man had less screen time, so just saying. They also give reasons for what Lex Luthor was trying to do. He was actually behind the Africa scene. I guess the terrorist attack, if you want to call it that. He was behind the wheelchair bomb. He's behind everything, but if you go back and you remember that movie, it just, to the fans, we kind of knew what was up. We knew Lex Luthor was behind it, but we never got, at least I feel that we never got a good explanation of why he was doing this. Okay, you hate Superman, you want to kidnap his mom, and you want to pin Batman versus Superman, and for some odd reason, because you're a crazy lunatic who likes to eat Jolly Ranchers and feed it to other guys. I have no idea. You are a freak, Lex Luthor, but you obviously have to have some kind of reason for doing this, and for some reason for blowing up a senator and giving her grandma's old man. If you can remember this, let me know what that was, because now I want to find out. It was that drink that they were setting right there in the when they were in front of the Senate committee. So let me know what that is, because my mind is drawing a blank right now. Anyway, like I said, more of Superman's going to be in the movie. This is the big one right here. Batman shows up at the end with Lex Luthor. Yeah, so we knew that happened. We saw that when it was having the multiple endings, like Lord of the Rings at the end of Batman v Superman. So it would jump back from Superman's funeral, then to Clark Kent's funeral, and then it went to Batman visiting Lex Luthor in the prison, and he threatens Lex Luthor, wherever you go, wherever you'll be, I'll be watching you. And, Lex Luthor is doing his crazy thing. They got his head shaved off and so forth. So there's a better explanation about this. Bottom line is Lex Luthor says he knows who Batman is. So this is also going into some spoiler territory also for Suicide Squad, because now, given this, it all connects, which is really cool if you think about it. Sometimes it isn't, but I like the direction they're going with this. So the ending of Batman v Superman, is going to be, has a big part, or at least this Ultimate Edition ending plays a bigger part in Suicide Squad. So, the Ultimate Cut attempts to clear things up by drawing out the conversation between them both and revealing that Lex knows Batman's secret identity. So, here's the deal. He says, "Who would believe me?" Luthor asks. "I'm insane, not even fit to stand trial." Batman misleadingly suggests, "We have hospitals for that, treat the mentally ill." We have hospitals that treat the mentally ill with compassion, but that's not where you're going. I've arranged for you to be transferred to Arkham Asylum in Gotham. I still have friends there, and they're expecting you. Oh, yeah. All right, so some of us already had an idea where this was leading at the very end with Batman v Superman, that, obviously Lex Luthor is insane. Where you go if you're insane in Gotham City and DC Comics? You go to Arkham, of course, because that's where all the cool kids are. No, so, he's obviously going to be having a cameo in Suicide Squad at the least. Because we haven't seen anything in the trailers, they've done a really good job about keeping that secret, but on the internet, it's all bets are off. Everybody's going to be leaking it before the movie comes out. Who knows? We'll probably know the ending before this movie even comes out, and it's not even July yet. So I'm excited about it. I mean, I always give my input on Lex Luthor and Jesse Eisenberg. I think they should have picked somebody else better than Jesse Eisenberg. I just didn't like the direction that he took the character. I think it was a cross between a wannabe Joker, Heath Ledger, and Edward Enigma from Batman Forever meets Jim Carrey, and it didn't work. And I maybe they can rectify this within the writing of Suicide Squad, or maybe they can just, I don't know, maybe they can tone him down a little bit. Maybe if he ends up getting his ass handed to him in here by Will Smith or the Joker in here, then I'm going to be really excited about that, because he's a sniveling little weasel and he needs to get payback. So, yeah, anyway. So, going on with Suicide Squad, there were some trailers, some TV spots that have been released. Not too much has really been coming out of this. It's just kind of like a rehash of the Bohemian Rhapsody feature trailer, if you guys remember that. That was like trailer number 2. And, that was kind of more of like... So if you think back to the first trailer, it was kind of like, it had that song, I Started a Joke, and so forth. And it was kind of a serious tone. And, we kind of saw, at that time, we're like, okay, well, DC's keeping up with what they promised about no humor in movies and so forth, at least in their universe. And then all of a sudden, they just pull the second trailer, and then they go into the Bohemian Rhapsody, and we're like, okay, we didn't see this coming, but I love this. I love this new direction that they're going in. And it's like kind of like the fans have spoken in a way, or just the studio answered to the fans. And it's like, okay, well, you have all these crazy villains. Let's have a good time with them. Let's just make the most of it. Batman v Superman, the serious tone didn't work as well as they would have liked. The no humor thing, it's got to end, obviously. So they're continuing with this humor direction. Like I said, there's not too much new footage. I mean, we get a couple new quotes in there, which I really enjoyed. One's from the Joker, he's so intense. And the other one from Deadshot, that's gangsta. That's the best Will Smith and Jared Leto that I can pull right now. I can do Batman, but I cannot do any of those guys. But, where were the drugs going? There. See, I can do that kind of stuff, but I can't do those kind of quotes. So I tried. I'm here all week. Try the veal. Anyway, yeah, so they're going to keep teasing us with this. They put out some new TV or new IMAX posters out there, which I've tweeted out and put on Facebook. They look great. I mean, they look amazing. They're keeping with this, worst heroes in the world, that kind of whole tone. And, I'm really excited about this. Like I said, the countdown is under 40-some days, I believe. At least under 45 days right about now. I'll get you a final count by the end of the show, hopefully. But, they keep releasing little bits and pieces of this. For example, they've released the new Suicide Squad album. The actual track list has been revealed. So here it is. The soundtrack features songs from 21 Pilots, Skylar Grey, Skrillex, and Rick Ross, Eminem, and some Lil Wayne, Wiz Khalifa, Imagine Dragons with Logic, Ty Dolla $ign, and X-Ambassadors. There's Panic at the Disco. They did a cover of Bohemian Rhapsody. There's also one right now that's... So if you pre-order the album, you automatically download 21 Pilots Heathens, a new song recorded specifically for the film. So that's the one that I was talking about. It's been released. I've only been able to hear clips. I haven't bought the album just yet. I'm waiting for payday to go through, and then I can get it. Really excited about this. I can't remember the last time. Maybe, yeah, I think this is it. Last time, say, a DC movie, Batman universe movie, had a soundtrack where it was just actual artists, not so much a score. Can you name this? TikTok. Batman and Robin, yeah. And I believe Smashing Pumpkins was on that. This was going back all the way to the Joel Schumacher films when they had that U2 song on there, Hold Me, Throw Me, Kiss Me, Kill Me. They had Seal on there. They had Offspring. Yes, I bought that album because I still enjoyed that music at that time. I still kind of like it to this time, at this point in my life too. But it is kind of cool that, obviously, they're having a soundtrack for this. You think back to Man of Steel. So you kind of heard the one song at the very beginning when Henry Cavill just saved those guys, and he prevented the tower, or kind of like the tower on that oil pipeline thing or whatever, from falling on the Coast Guard chopper, and he's stealing the clothes. You kind of hear that song in there. But even in that's about the only song in there. It's always been scored by Hans Zimmer. Batman v Superman, I don't remember hearing any music in there. Once again, it was Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL. So, I'm kind of interested to see what this has to, what this is going to be like, especially now that they're going to be fitting that kind of a music into the film. I've heard AC/DC could be in there. So, yeah, I'm real excited about this. So, anywho, let's switch some gears here, because I've bored some Bond fans, probably because, I hate to say it, but there isn't as much Bond news as there is with Batman news out there, especially right now since we're kind of at a standstill because we still have no idea what's going on with James Bond, who the actor's going to be. Speculation continues. I'm getting real impatient, but, still, like I said, studio has to make up their mind, which studio MGM's going to be, going with. And like I said, it could be up. It's obviously up to Barbara Broccoli, who just celebrated her birthday. Once again, happy birthday, ma'am. So right now, everybody's still weighing in their opinion. You have Naomi Harris. For those of you that don't know, Naomi Harris played Miss Moneypenny, or Eve Moneypenny, and Skyfall and Spectre. Outstanding actress. I love the part I love what she did with the whole Moneypenny role. She brought her own appeal to it, if you will. She made the character her own. Yeah, that's a better way of phrasing it. So she was commenting in an interview recently. She said, "I hope I'm in the next film because I love playing Moneypenny. I will be eternally grateful for having been able to be a part of this incredible franchise. It has been an incredible impact on my career." So the actress also went on to reveal who she wants to play the famous MI6 agent. So it was between Tom Hiddleston and Aidan Turner, and she picked no one. Yeah, she didn't actually say. She wasn't keen to speculate on a successor such as Tom Hiddleston or Aidan Turner. She did say that she loves Daniel Craig, and she really, really hopes that he's going to be back. So right about now, that's all we know with who could be James Bond. I mean, we know that the Poldark actor, Aidan Turner, he's still, as they say, the red-hot favorite to play James Bond. According to Boyle Sports, they're the ones who do like the betting and so forth. They actually suspended betting on the star because he could be a sure thing. So, back at the beginning of the month, we were talking about this where Tom Hiddleston was actually being favored. They stopped the betting. They stopped the gambling for it. All the bookies and so forth saying, oh, well, Hiddleston's the sure thing right now. It's only a matter of time before he gets announced. And then what happened? Comic-Con in Philadelphia, I believe it was, where he turned it down. And, now Tom Hiddleston, he's off somewhere with Taylor Swift and so forth. So, and we have no idea. I know I keep saying that. I know you get tired of me saying that. I get tired of me saying that right about now. But like I said, we'll stay patient. We'll keep hope alive. Maybe by some small chance, Daniel Craig will come back to play James Bond. Like I said, I'd love for him to come back. If he doesn't, then, it was a great run. So in a little bit of different kind of James Bond news, I did stumble onto this week because you would have to be a James Bond fan to appreciate this video. It is by this group, and it's a YouTube channel called Epic Rap Battles of History, and they released their latest video, and it's like a modern MI6 agent who goes up against a spook of original incarnations. And who would it be but James Bond versus Austin Powers? So what they did was they had a Daniel Craig lookalike versus an Austin Powers lookalike, and then they even threw in a Sean Connery lookalike in there, and it is hilarious. It is so funny. So I've tweeted it out, and I've posted it on Facebook. Make sure you check that out. Go over there, like their Facebook page, give them a plug on here. You like I said, just everything that, what I'd make a long story short, what I talked about is Daniel Craig's, it has, like I said, the Daniel Craig James Bond in there, and he's saying, I do this, and Austin Powers, what do? You do nothing, you just laugh and whatever. And Austin Powers fires back at him and said, oh, you want to take a serious tone and so forth. And, like I said, you got to see the video, but it's definitely worth your 3-4 minutes of watching it. So definitely check that out. So, moving into the next segment here, this is the birthdays and anniversaries segment. So, we still remain at that time where it happens to be a lot more James Bond birthdays. This isn't the time, I was looking at my calendar today, and the Batman birthdays end up falling more between August, October, and December. Kind of interesting about that. I don't know why. But, so here's your birthdays for this week. Louis Jordan, who played Kamal Khan in Octopussy, celebrated a birthday on June 19th. Kamal Khan, we talked about Octopussy last week. Like I said, he played a good villain. Not my favorite, not my least favorite, but he was a formidable villain. I think the best line, or one of the best things out of even a Roger Moore James Bond movie, is when they're playing backgammon, they're in India, and, Bond's being, Roger Moore is being his James Bond. He's in his white tux, and he ends up taking the position for the Major, and they end up, he obviously knows what, Kamal Khan's up to, because Kamal Khan's using these trick die, and he keeps rolling double sixes and beating the Major, and Bond's like, okay, well, I'm gonna play his game, and all of a sudden, Bond says, you know what? Okay, I will use player's privilege, and I'm gonna use your lucky dice. And then one of the coolest quotes, "It's all in the wrist, double sixes, fancy that," and it's perfect. And then Kamal Khan starts writing him the check, and he's like, I prefer cash. And spend the money quickly, Mr. Bond. I intend to Kamal Khan. All that kind of thing. I had to look it up real quick because I didn't remember all the lines, but it was so worth it. So, that was probably, like I said, one of my favorites. Definitely check out that movie if you haven't already. Okay, moving on here. Virginia Hay, who played Rubovich in The Living Daylights, celebrated a birthday on June 19th. Nicole Kidman celebrated a birthday on June 20th, and if you don't remember, she was in Batman Forever, and she played, I watched that movie a couple months ago, and, for what she did in there, I mean, she is a great actress. I really enjoyed the take that she had on there because, we'll get into Batman Forever, another time, maybe next year, who knows, maybe I'll be on a Versus, and yeah, it's about to celebrate an anniversary. We'll talk about that in a second too. She wasn't just your typical, she wanted Batman in that movie, and she liked Bruce Wayne, but at the same time, she had such a crush, and I don't know if it was the black leather or whatever, maybe it was the bat nipples, I have no idea, but I kind of liked the character that she did. She wasn't Vicky Vale, she didn't try to be Catwoman, but she was kind of, she was how do I say this? She was pretty straightforward about what she wanted and so forth, and her having the psychology background played a pretty good part, especially with Val Kilmer's Batman, Bruce Wayne having his dreams and so forth. So I did like that. So happy birthday, Nicole Kidman. You did a good job in that movie with what you were given. Klaus Maria Brandauer celebrates a birthday on June 22nd. If you don't know this one, that's okay. He played Emil Largo in Never Say Never Again, what is considered to be the forgotten Bond film, considering it was actually never released by MGM. At the time, it was released by Warner Brothers. The reason for that is, make a long story short, there was this feud between Ian Fleming and Kevin McClory. Kevin McClory is, well, let me just say that I'm not a big fan of him. No matter how much I love Thunderball, I can never get past that name every time I see the credits because I have this hate for him. Him and Ian Fleming wrote the book for Thunderball. They created the characters together. One of them happened to be, Spectre and, Blofeld. And it ended up being where McClory wanted to have his name as the main producer for Thunderball. And Cubby Broccoli and Harry Saltzman agreed to it. And, McClory ended up winning the rights to Spectre and to, carry all these characters. So that's why during the Roger Moore years, you couldn't see anything with, Spectre or Blofeld at all. So they kind of had to do a work around that. So now we obviously have Spectre. The rights are back where they belong. And, Blofeld is back in the Bond universe. So really interesting story there. We'll save that movie for another time too. So moving on here, Carly Simon celebrates a birthday on June 25th, and she performed the theme, Nobody Does It Better for the Spy Who Loved Me, one of my top 3 Bond themes ever. And here's a little cool thing about this song. I actually had my first dance in my wedding to this song, and I used it as the wedding video song. And, that's to my wife, and happy 5-month anniversary, sweetheart. Anywho, not to get too sentimental. And the final birthday this week is from Robert Davi. He celebrates a birthday on June 26th. He played Sanchez in License to Kill, what I would consider, or whom I would consider to be one of the most underrated villains ever in a Bond movie. If you haven't watched License to Kill, first of all, it is, you're either going to love it or you're probably not going to like it. You're probably going to hate it, honestly. It's Bond coming into the end of that era. Timothy Dalton had a good go with that movie, and it just that, I would say the producers and the writers, there was so much going on that they didn't even really film it at Pinewood Studios. It was filmed more in Florida, and I think it was filmed in Mexico, if I'm not mistaken. They use another city in there too. But it's a great 80s kind of Bond, and it talks about, Sanchez is playing this drug lord in there, and Bond, does, something that we had never seen before. He kind of goes off on his own and goes rogue and tries to, find Sanchez and, kill him and so forth, because he tried to kill Felix Leiter. Anyway, though, I won't spoil it if you haven't seen that movie. Like I said, always say we'll save that for another time. Great movie, License to Kill. We'll save it for another versus sometime soon. So, Anniversaries, obviously June is a big summer tentpole month for movies, and it is probably the biggest one, actual month for Batman movies. Yes, I said it. So, Batman Begins was released on June 15th, 2005. That is 11 years ago. Boy, do I feel old right about now. Actually, let me go back in order here. Batman Returns came out in June 18th, 1992. I feel even older right about now because I remember specifically when that movie came out. I remember the trailers. I remember the TV spots, even the video game, thing that they had for that. It had Penguin. It had Danny DeVito saying, "You don't really think you'll win, do you?" And then you have Michael Keaton say, "Things change." And great quote, great line, great scene, great movie. So moving on here, Batman Forever celebrates an anniversary on June 16th, came out June 16th, 1995. Once again, remember when that came out, didn't know what to expect because, Michael Keaton, like I always say, whenever you see a movie, whether it's Batman or James Bond, the first movie you see of that character, that actor ends up kind of becoming your Batman or James Bond. So it was kind of hard for me to, get in like the, to get used to Val Kilmer, seeing him with the cowl and the cape. And, I liked it. I mean, the movie itself, I think I have more respect for now than I used to, because anybody can bash Joel Schumacher for what he did with Batman and Robin. And yes, Batman and Robin came out June 20th, 1998. I will say though that, that it was, obviously they went pretty dark with Batman Returns. We've seen dark movies before. It's a Batman movie. I mean, it's not, kid-friendly always. They tried to make it more kid-friendly and more colorful with those two movies, and they kind of went a little overboard, obviously, with Batman and Robin. Everybody chill. Freeze, the heat is on. And all those kind of quotes. And, if you want to watch good comedy, then I suggest Batman and Robin. But, if you're a fan of that, then hey, that's great. I can watch it. I'll watch it if it's on TV, and I'll even watch it on Blu-ray if I'm bored. But, it's not, as a Batman movie, it's probably one of the weakest Batman movies out there. That's just me. Anyway, Batman Begins, going back to that, came out June 15th, 2005, 11 years ago. Wow. Yeah, probably one of my favorite Batman movies. Obviously, Batman 1989 holds a special place in my heart. Batman Begins and The Dark Knight are my top 3 favorite Batman movies. It will be it is to be determined whether, obviously when Ben Affleck's Batman film comes out, because we'll actually get just a standalone Batman film, which I'm looking forward to. I mean, sure, we got Batman v Superman. Everything that he did in that movie was great. But and same with Suicide Squad when he does this little cameo in there. I'm looking forward to that. But as of right now, though, those would be my favorite Batman movies. Not that you cared, but anywho. All right, moving into the final segment of the show. This is Versus. This is the part of the show where we compare movies of the Batman or James Bond universes versus other franchises within the same wheelhouse. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're close. So I try to do what I can. This week's Versus is... Oh, and let me just... Before I even announce what this week's Versus is, let me just say that last week was Octopussy versus Raiders of the Lost Ark. I know I got some feedback on that. And, what ended up being, when I did the poll for that, it ended up being Raiders of the Lost Ark won over Octopussy. And I will say that I'm not surprised about that. I might have even announced this on Instagram saying that, at that time, it was, Indiana Jones was just the bigger thing, and, Bond was it was at a different point for James Bond. Now, if you had an Indiana Jones versus a James Bond movie, it would be a whole lot different. So, I have nothing against Octopussy. I have nothing against Indiana Jones, but I think in my mind, overall, Raiders of the Lost Ark would be the better film. So, and I'm a Bond fan, and I still love Octopussy, but I think the Raiders of the Lost Ark was a stronger, or just... maybe a stronger story in a way, or just, I don't know. It was a different take on something similar that we had seen before, but, both good movies, so forth. So definitely check them both out. So this week's Versus is Batman Begins versus Man of Steel. Yeah. Both of them actually were released in this past week, and I've been meaning to go through it because I kind of wanted to go with a Father's Day theme to a point. And hopefully you've seen both of these movies because you know where I'm going with this. And this has obviously been a feud that's not a feud, but it's always been something that's been compared for so long. So I figured I'd have my little crack at it. If you look at both these movies, obviously, like I said, I'm a bigger Batman fan. I love Man of Steel. I truly love Man of Steel, and maybe it is because it is like a Batman Begins in a sense. It really is. But before I even go into that, let's get the obvious comparisons out of the way now. They're both origin stories, the same writers, okay? The same writers. I mean, you have David S. Goyer coming back after writing the Dark Knight trilogy, which he had a hand in, which, I mean, he didn't write alone, but majority of it he wrote. Christopher Nolan, once again, teamed up with David S. Goyer, so they're both writing this together. They both wrote Batman Begins together. They both had a hand in that, okay? Jonathan Nolan didn't have any hand in this. He helped with with Dark Knight, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises, so they didn't work together on this. I'm not saying that, Jonathan Nolan probably didn't have, he probably didn't look this over or anything, but the interesting part about this movie, or at least Man of Steel, that is, that when they were writing The Dark Knight Rises, David S. Goyer, stumbled onto this idea saying, hey, Chris, I got this idea, but it's for a Superman movie. And, they pitched the idea, and then they ended up eventually making Man of Steel after The Dark Knight Rises. Now, obviously, Nolan did not direct the Man of Steel movie. It was Zack Snyder. I bet you a lot of people would have rather seen Christopher Nolan direct a movie than Zack Snyder. And that's not a jab at Zack Snyder. I'm just saying that there are bigger Christopher Nolan fans out there. Zack Snyder, whether you love him or hate him, I got to give him credit where credit is due. Man of Steel is an amazing movie. I'll keep saying that. The styles in the sense of how the stories were told. You have the flashbacks in both these movies. You're seeing, like I said, origin stories. You see both Batman, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. You see both Bruce Wayne and Clark Kent as kids. You get their backstory, and you see actually how they develop into the characters and the heroes that they're going to be. Very, very similar. Let's look at Batman Begins real quick. So, quick summary here. This is the Brian Thomas summary, that is. We see, at the very beginning, young Bruce Wayne, and, then it flashes back to when, he fell into the Batcave and so forth. Don't worry, I'm going to keep it quick here. all of a sudden wakes up, he's in the prison, he's got his beard, he's, been traveling the world trying to figure out what his sense of purpose is because, his parents had died and he wants to get revenge and he just doesn't know how to. So he's trying to go through and, figure out the criminal mind, and he stumbles into Henry Ducard and Liam Neeson, and he ends up finding the League of Shadows, and they, kind of give him a sense of direction that he might be looking for, and ends up not being the direction that he wants to go in. He continues to have flashbacks, and, we see how his parents die. We've seen Batman's parents die a million times. I still think this was probably one of the most dramatic ways we've seen. Batman v Superman's definitely a close second, maybe a little bit more brutal, but I mean, this was just, it didn't have to be bloody. It was just so dark and so forth, and it wasn't like the Michael Keaton Batman where, you just see a quick flashback of his parents dying. It was more in depth than that. We kind of got a little bit more of a backstory on like how his father is, the relationship that he had with his father. With his mother, you didn't see as much, but we knew that he did care for his mom too. The relationship that they really, showed here was Alfred and young Bruce Wayne, and how Alfred really stepped it up as, kind of like the father figure and so forth for Bruce Wayne, and just Michael Caine and Christian Bale on screen. Anytime these two were on screen together, I mean, they owned the screen, and the chemistry that these two guys had, it was great. I mean, I loved every minute of it, and that's why I always look forward to going back and watching these Batman movies. Excuse me, is that I love just like how they can joke around, they can be very serious, they make you want to cry sometimes. It's like, it's not your family, Alfred. Why do you give a damn? I give a damn because a great man once made me a part of it, of something he loved. Something to that extent, anyway. You know what I'm going with. And, it's such a just, it's a basic take on Batman. What if Batman existed in just a regular world? What if he was in like Chicago? What if it was Baltimore City, New York, whatever city it was, that this guy, this rich kid, his parents were brutally murdered. He wants to get revenge, and then he comes back to save his city and become a symbol. And, it's a really great movie. So Man of Steel it's slightly different because in the sense that we, obviously it's still kind of a, gritty, darker take on Superman, which was never done before. Obviously, you have the Christopher Reeve movies, but with Man of Steel, you get to see more of Krypton, and you see Jor-El, you see Russell Crowe, and, he ends up, taking the Codex and putting it into his son, and that being Kal-El, and in order to save their planet, they decide to send Kal-El to Earth, and because Krypton is doomed. It's about to destroy itself because of everything that's happened with it. And you have General Zod, and Zod believes that that the Codex and so forth, if you're not with him, with General Zod's beliefs, then you're dead. He's going to kill you. He's going to do whatever. And that's exactly what he did to Jor-El. And, they ended up freezing them, because, they obviously knew that General Zod was insane. He's a madman, but, he meant well because he was trying to save his planet. That's the interesting thing about, him as a villain, is because he believed what he was doing was right. I really liked that about that. I liked what Michael Shannon did with that villain, that character. And it wasn't just, okay, well, I'm just going to terrorize people. It's just that I'm trying to save my planet. It's like if I was, one of the last survivors of Earth, I'm going to go try to save it and do whatever means necessary. I mean, he is psychotic, though, granted that. So, given that, though, we see the journey that, Superman takes or Clark Kent takes of realizing, hey, I'm different than everybody else. Mom and Dad, Martha and Pa Kent, they realize this, that, I'm different and that I have these abnormal abilities that, no one else has. And we have to keep this a secret, because if this gets out, then, people are going to look at me differently and it's going to change the world. And, everything about that hope, those themes in there, and pretty much he is like, he is Jesus. I mean, I'm not trying to go religious here, but he really is. And they have that whole tone throughout the movie, and I love it. I truly love it. And, they keep up with that, and you get to see him become Superman pretty much for one day, and that's about it. We got to see Batman be Batman for a little bit longer in Batman Begins. Both great movies. Great, overall. You got a great Tumbler, a new Batmobile in Batman Begins, the Tumbler. Superman learning to fly and falling and so forth, and the biggest thing with Man of Steel, of course, is the backlash with the collateral damage, how many people he let die, and that all that's answered in Batman v Superman. So I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but going on with these two movies, I really would like to know what you guys think about this. It's not a question of what's the better movie. I guess it might come down to are you the bigger Batman fan, or are you the bigger Superman fan, or is this not quite the Superman film that you guys wanted? Was this not the Batman film that you wanted? Did the voice of Christian Bale's Batman annoy you? Where were the drugs going? Why does my voice annoy you? Is it because I talk like this? I don't know, but that's how it is. That's just how I talk, and it got worse throughout the rest of the movies, but I'm out now. Now we have Ben Affleck, Batflick. Anyway, I'm out. Yeah, so there we go. Just let me know what you guys think about these two movies. What did you like better? Pros and cons of both. I always say, obviously, of any movies that we're probably ever going to do here on Versus, these two are going to have some of the most similarities because they're from not only the same writers, but from the same studio, too, and the same kind of, I don't know, Batman and Superman are obviously way different, but to a point they do share some of the same characteristics, and obviously that is shown throughout these two movies. So, anywho, let me know what you think. Anyway, that about wraps it up for this episode of the Batman vs. James Bond show. Please subscribe on iTunes and or Spreaker. Make sure that you rate this show and leave a comment for me. Follow me on Twitter at Batman vs. Bond, and like me on the Batman vs. James Bond Facebook page. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, please direct message me and we can set something up. Like James Bond, I will return. Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you have a great week, and until next time, peace out.